Chat, hold on. You can still hear me. Okay. Chat. 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 Timo. Hello. Hello, Timo. Hello, I am with friends today. We're doing a game today. That makes such noises. I'm like, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We're doing a game today. We're doing RE5 again. So we can get on. That depends who's here. I don't know who. Hello, we have very special guests today again. We're gonna be finishing up our Resident Evil 5 today. We're gonna be 360 no-scoping all of Africa. No, not the stone punching game. Oh, you know it? You know it? I love it. It's great. It's great with friends. It's a great game with friends. As soon as you play it by yourself, though, then it becomes painful. I hate it. You hate it. He hates it. He hates it. Chris Redfield's adventure across Africa to collect Leon's candy. So he can impregnate Claire Redfield. But yeah, we're playing it today. We're halfway through the game, Timo. Don't you know? We're only halfway through. Oh god. Who would ever think that dominating a stone was a good idea? You mean you don't like Chris Boulder punching Redfield? Chris punches Boulder for Claire Redfield? Punching fucking stone. I love it. Imagine being so stupid yet at the same time so strong, you can just punch stone. Why? Because it's important. You're telling me this is not peak gameplay, Timo? For what reason? for dramatic effect. Anyways, we're playing with Doggy today. Doggywara, which is in the title, I believe. Let me shout out Doggy here. Chat. Actually, how do I shout out someone? Is it just a shout out? How do I shout someone out? Manage goals, stream together, clear chat, sound alerts. Let's see, shout out. No, that's not how that works. Ebeb failed. Laugh at me, I failed. Anyways, we're streaming with Doggywara. Let me check here. Discord. Dogman, are you there?
I'm not a real person.
He's Here he is! It is Dogman. Doggywara himself. In the flesh.
Okay.
Are you ready to punch boulders? And shoot random black men?
You asked me that question, but I am not playing Chris.
True.
While I appreciate the emotional and moral support, I want you to understand something. I am not a Redfield.
He is not a woman. He's a woman. He's a very delicate and small woman.
I'm a delicate and small woman that can kick open fucking doors, but I cannot punch boulders.
Truly a shame. He's not stupid enough, yet strong enough to punch boulders. He's gonna be your wife.
20 curls? Sorry, hold on. Someone just put in a redeem. I gotta do 20 curls on my dumbbell now.
Anyway.
It's from the start. Thanks, Josh, you piece of shit.
Yeah, hold on.
Give me a second. Left arm or right arm, Josh? You gotta answer the question now.
Yeah, he's an avocado. One of my chatters just called you an avocado.
Not an avocado, Mike Wazowski. Mike Wazowski with 2 eyes.
He's Mr. Avocado Mike Wazowski.
And hold on. Wait,
In the meantime, he will be.
Don't do this to me.
He'll be doing exercise.
Yeah.
While being
That's
tortured.
What my redeems are exercises, all of them.
Exercise routines and being tortured by his audience that is probably thirsty for him.
Hold on, wait. I gotta do curls. I've been instructed to do curls.
He's been instructed.
And then my controller has decided to suddenly not connect.
I'm alone here.
Like we didn't test this
Don't worry
an hour
about it,
and a
Tino.
half ago. Alright, hold on, wait. I gotta do my curls. Give me 1 second.
Don't worry.
Alright, Josh, you motherfucker. 1 second.
Yeah, we're gonna be going through it. I don't know. I do know we're about halfway through the game. I checked the amount of chapters.
3, 4. Go ahead.
Yeah, I checked the amount of chapters. We're literally at 3-2 out of the 6 chapters. Which is literally the halfway point. Honestly, I don't think we're going to have a yap moment. We're probably going to have more of a... We're probably just going to steamroll this depending on how good we play.
How good we played. Now, I would like to remind everyone here, my controls are reversed.
His controls are reversed, so he's going to... his aim is going to be shit. But he'll still play...
My up goes to the right, my down goes like to the left, my like right goes to up, and my like left goes to like fucking down or some shit. I'm gonna figure it out because I figured it out last run. There's just 20 curls, by the way, you piece of shit. Alright, so let me...
He will, however, still be better than the AI, and he will still, however, be more useful than the AI.
Not a Tito.
It's still amazing, though, because... God, the AI in this game is ass.
If you watch, like, last time, I was playing like dog shit, and then the moment I got stressed, my brain just figured out the controls immediately, but then I got unstressed, and
Exactly.
I stopped figuring out the controls.
It's
Why
great.
is my controller suddenly not working? Why are video games like this? The moment I turned on stream, it's like, oh yeah.
We test
wanna
this. We tested this too, by the way. Again, we tested it, and for some reason, it keeps happening. It happens every time he presses the start stream button. Technology hates this man.
Technology hates me. It fucking hates me.
It hates him.
Josh, you can pick your stream avatar, by the way. Tato. You know, actually, I don't know that vocal. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll be completely honest with you. You're gonna have to teach me. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it fucking.
Oh yeah. Let me check. Also, put me on top of your head. I know
On top of my head?
Yeah, put my squibby on top of your head.
Okay, I can do that.
There. We are now Master Blasters.
What the fuck is happening? Hold on, wait.
He
You know what I
doesn't
can also do?
doesn't know about Master Blaster.
I can get smaller too. There we go. Now we're cooking.
Hold on.
Now we're cooking.
I need to post what the Master Blaster is. I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna show everyone what Master Blaster is. I need to get it.
Alright, hold on. We're gonna fix this.
The Master Blaster. Is it me? It's an old one. There we go.
ADM, make it to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna link it to you. I'm gonna send it to you. Hold on.
I need to like keep a laptop next to my computer or some shit because like fucking Alt Tab kills this game.
Alt Tab always kills everything. I hate Alt Tabbing.
Old video games are a thing.
This is Master Blaster. This is not.
What is this?
This is currently what's happening as I'm right on top of his head. I'm the little guy. The big guy is actually just talking.
I like that. Alright. Join game? Are we joining game? What's happening?
I need to set up the thing here, but don't worry. Also, this is what it is, chat. This is the Master Blaster position. Okay. You saw it for like 15 seconds, so now you don't get to see it. You have to learn how to punish your chat. Anyways, let me start the stream. Let me start the game here, not the stream. I already started the stream. me have...
You okay? You okay over there?
Me? No.
No? Okay, that's fine.
No. No, but I'll pretend like I am.
I think that's completely fucking fair.
I'm gonna make these smaller, actually, because these are kind of too huge. These boulder punching gifts are too fucking huge.
Boulder punching gifts?
Yeah, it's just Chris Redfield punching a boulder repeatedly in the corner.
Man, and this game is so... It's just literal jokes.
It's all... I don't know how the Chris Redfield... You have to fuck my sister memes even started. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the music because now only I can hear it. I have... How many scenes do I have? I have the startup scene, I have the scene where I'm just in my like, little mall home.
Yeah?
And then I have the game stream screen, and I have the end screen. I don't know why I have so many screens, I just do. Anyways. Turn out the window, and we have the 3 primary things. Yippee! Alright, chat, we're sorry.
Yippee! I'm not sorry. I'm not saying sorry to chat for shit.
He has to be this way, he has to be tough and shit.
I'm not saying sorry.
Oh,
you decided to click this stream.
You decided this punishment. Why did you decide to do this, chat?
Said
Why are you here, huh? You here to watch?
They have mental issues.
That's... I'm not gonna talk.
Oh, I will. You don't have to. It's okay. I will.
No, I mean, I can't say anything because, I think that would be, how you say, what is that, projection? Oh. Oh, wait, this one has 140 capacity. Shit, this one's the bad one.
What are you looking at?
My old, hold on. Oh, I need to invite you first. Let me invite you.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for.
There you go. Invited. Don't worry about your Steam showing up unless you're streaming on desktop.
I don't give a fuck about that shit. What are you gonna do? Add me? Dox me? Do it anyway. I don't care. Find me.
What, you gonna do, dox me? You gonna buy me a new house?
Buy me a new house? Get me a fucking new car? Go ahead.
By the way, chat, can you tell I've been grinding? Because I have, like, 13 Sudnare grenades, 6 flashbangs, a couple of red air mixtures.
I love the idea that you can even grind in this game just for co-ops. You can just be like, hey, Shiva.
I explained...
I'm better than you.
I said it before, where it was like, yeah, you have to grind for both yourself and Shiva.
AI Shiva.
Yeah, you have to grind for AI Shiva. So basically, if you play by yourself, you're getting double fucked. If you play with co-op, everyone literally gets their own treasures and their own stuff. So then it becomes a, what the fuck is the point? Thank you.
There is no point.
There's no point.
Alright, let's see. My shotgun needs to be reloaded. Let's see if I remember the fucking controls.
I actually wonder if I should swap out my,
Upgrade fills it from what I remember.
You have shotgun, you have magnum, I have sniper rifle, and machine pistol.
Magnum, combine, go.
I'm gonna upgrade my SVD again. Hold on.
Buy Ithaca. I have 12k. Wait, don't buy it. Don't buy it, right? Don't buy it. Upgrade. Upgrade, don't buy. Upgrade, don't buy.
Don't worry, I'm just making this SVD more broken the more I fucking use it.
Good.
It is now near Magnum levels, which I don't know why, because the Magnum is only good at close range. Or whatever.
Okay, that's what I'm here for, to remember how to aim.
I have 2 SVDs. I wish I could give my partner here a fucking gun. If I would listen, if I was ever your grandpa, if I ever became rich, I would probably buy your I would buy your children weapons and ammo. I would be that grandpa. Your child will be a child soldier.
Why?
Your
will. Child should be a child soldier. That's your kid. My kid's gonna hunt bears.
I know. That's exactly why he's gonna be a child soldier.
Okay. This is why we're going to Africa. This is just practice.
Exactly.
Practice. Got it. Alright, let's see if I remember how anything works.
Oh hell yeah, the heals.
That's
kept
lock on.
Machine pistol.
Oh my god. What was it? I switched to knife and I hit this.
Also, I just realized I didn't use all my money from grinding all the.
Here we go. Wow, that guy got fucked. Trying to figure out what my buttons are. Knife, not knife.
Come on.
Knife.
Knife.
No, wait, hold on. Alright. Gimme.
I'm gonna snipe people
Gimme.
from far away.
That's okay. I can, press square, go to the magnum with circle. Press square, magnum with circle, equipped, okay. Aim, good. This goes right.
Chat, can I break? Chat, I'm gonna break a man's neck here in a second. Hold on.
I'm just gonna pick shotgun. We're doing this again.
He's doing it again,
Oh
chat.
my god.
Man, they're not going on the knees again. How come I was able to get a bunch of people on the knees beforehand? Now I can't. I'm sorry for the phrasing.
Not this card. Let me out. Let me out. Run. Run is this.
Yeah!
Okay.
Let me break this man's neck!
Oh, the enemy! Square. Move over. This. Down. No! Alright. Well, we're gonna do it with this again.
Give me your neck.
Your DPS again.
By the way, the neck breaker kills the enemies even if they have helmets on. It's an insta-kill. The only issue with it is that it's not, like, area of effect. That's the only balancing act to it. I wonder if you could probably do it. I think Sheva probably has a neck break version.
I think she does.
You should.
But for now...
Yeah, you just gotta get them on the knees and then go behind them. Wait, that sounds wrong.
That's okay. Most things are wrong.
True. More shotgun ammo over here.
Thank you.
You are a shotgunner. I am something.
You are, where the fuck you are?
I am murder hobo.
Go up! I cannot believe that I'm actually playing a game like this. This shit is so fucking annoying.
He'll figure it out, Chat. Give him, like, a few minutes.
How did I get used to this beforehand?
I think I guided you before. And yes, you are actually playing better than original Sheva. AI
That's not good.
Listen, Sheva in AI form basically just, like, sticks to your ass. And will although use the health item even when you don't ask for it. I literally did not ask to be healed, and she'll heal me. And it's like, oh, thanks.
Left. Okay, so that's the gate. He's coming, I don't care. Right?
Back blast, shooting back, yeah, back blast, yeah.
Okay.
Man, I love the scorpion.
Only in stressful situations.
Hey, it's better than.
Are we clean?
Oh yeah, you want me to dodge?
Yeah, go ahead. Have a ball.
Okay. I'm probably gonna miss it because I'm probably more primed for, like, shooting people.
No, you're fine. I did it every single time before. My fucked up controllers, you're fine. I got 100% win rate.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Just go.
Alrighty.
I don't remember what the controls are, chat. Is it gonna be F, V, or something else? Oh, okay. I don't know what that was.
You'll be fine, just keep it moving.
Let me strafe. Oh, it's literally just you keep moving, is it?
Just keep moving.
It's not even a joke.
It's easy.
I thought it was like you have to press a button.
Nope. What?
Oh my god.
Hello?
Yeah, he died. Yeah, you're still here, but you're still here in Discord.
Overwrite current equipment and status. You would lose. You will lose any unsafe progress by choosing no. What the fuck? Thank you, RE5.
Thank you, RE5. This is probably at the checkpoint too, by the way.
Perhaps. Let's see.
If not, I'm just gonna like exit and re-enter.
Tito.
Doggywara joined immediately. To play immediately, please restart the game. Alright, let me...
Restart the whole game and shit fucking saves.
Let me get to the next checkpoint then. AI Shiver had... Fuck you, Shiver. Gave me pistol ammo.
Store in the trash. Why does she give you pistol ammo? What?
I can make her give me your... No, she has your inventory!
No! No!
She has your inventory!
Why is she touching my shit?
You can dupe items by this way! Oh my god!
Yo, force fucking,
You basically, if you get kicked out, and the AI takes over, all it does is that it copies the items over.
Bruh.
That's amazing. That's amazing!
That's actually really funny, I like that. I like that a lot.
There's no way this could be abused. It's not like I just used it, by the way, to, I just used it, by the way, to get free ammo. It literally gave me free ammo.
Where are we now? Oh, you got the checkpoint.
Yeah,
Hi, Squishy. Welcome. My controls are still fucking reversed.
I am
guiding
guiding Grandpa the Doggywara as I am.
Grandpa.
Grandpa.
Come on.
Stop.
Okay.
Bitch.
Come on.
Triangle.
Come on.
Come on. Come on.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Oh, wait.
Come on.
Roger. Come
Come
on.
on.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Now I have pistol
Squishy,
ammo.
change your avatar on fucking stream, by the way.
Me?
Trice.
No, not you.
They help fund the BSAA. What are they
BSAA.
doing here?
The Bullshit Association. I fucking love it.
The Tri-Cells working with the actual company that funds our that does illicit stuff, funds our company so they can get away with stuff? No way. Type 3 Plagas field test. 1 week passed since the initial field test of Type 3 Plagas. Type 3 was designed to display dramatically enhanced physical abilities over the previous versions. The original Las Plagas had special Plaga, known to control Plaga, that would provide a host of enhanced physical abilities. These control types are limited in numbers, and they always cause physical changes in the host, and thus was not always expedient to use them. I was about to say psychic. From a business standpoint, this was undesirable. The idea was to create super soldiers without any side effects, something consumers wanted. Stop asking me to develop super soldiers without side effects. You cannot take cocaine and not get addicted to it.
You can try. You can try. It won't work. But you can make it really, really hard attempt.
This is just like, we're trying to make the everything soldier and the everything gun. Other teams are currently working on developing a similar product to Las Plagas for commercial use. How the fuck are you gonna develop a commercial version for this when you already have, like, physical transformation?
Yeah, we're gonna fucking sell it in Rite Aid, bro. You want some T-Virus?
It's T-Virus. But given the affinity Las Plagas has for human hosts, it seems advantageous to continue to develop it. Other methods may produce superior super soldiers, but if they do not render the host completely controllable, their effectiveness would be limited. Taking a subordinate plaga, the baseless plagas, and implanting a gene from the control plaga, create a new type.
We've arrived at the oil field.
I got interrupted.
And Irving's not getting away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, first ice cream.
Oh, yeah. Squishy, you're Sailor Jupiter. You can change your avatar below the fucking stream or some shit. Yeah. You can be a Gundam if you want. If you want to be Death Sides, you can be Death Sides.
Oh god. I was just thinking, like, what do you mean you're trying to make a control but less plagas? You've already seen what it does to affect. What do you mean commercial?
You can't make it commercial. I mean, you can. It's just I don't know who's gonna fucking approve it.
It would have to be like some real insane genetic modification. It's just they don't seem to be genetically modifying it. They seem to just find the virus and just like, all right, shove it in him. We don't actually field test this shit. We're just gonna shove it onto a person and say, yeah, this is working.
Oh shit! Here we go.
I've seen better cyberpunks with better gene editing. Oh my god.
Alrighty, let's see. There's a stupid ass kid right here, so I go up, I go this way, and we go this way.
We're back to shooting normal Africans, by the way. As opposed to tribal Africans. We wiped out that
Oh,
village.
there's a machine gun. There's a machine gun. There's a machine gun.
Where?
Hold on. I'm gonna fix this right now. Give me 1 second.
Okay, they don't transform. Ooh! I didn't mean to uppercut. Whatever. Ooh, flash grenade. I'm gonna keep that because I have a bad habit.
Not me.
Yeah, Shepard seems like she's into kickboxing.
Probably. I don't know where the fuck she learned it from, though.
I mean, some of it's simple, like roundhouse kicks,
Fuck off.
side kicks. Those are easy. It's barred shit for the other side. Okay, so we have to actually go for the gas. The BP oil pipeline death maze. The worst.
Yeah.
the
DuPont.
the
Fucking DuPont.
The DuPont. Oh, that's French, isn't it? Oh god! Oh, it's a pipe puzzle. you have to turn this valve over here, by the way. I will do the puzzle because I don't know how much. Well, you have to turn the valve. I don't know which one.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess it's this one over here, though.
If I wanted to send you some TikTok songs to go, should I drop the YT links? Drop the YT links. Go ahead. I don't mind.
The YT list?
Someone wants to drop me some fucking Vocaloid music, it seems.
Oh, hell yeah.
Welcome a robot. Congratulations on being a robot. You've grown. Oh, look!
Hey, people.
More people who don't fucking... Who aren't, Go this way. Go this way, go this way.
I just realized he had C4, by the he had TNT, by the way. He had C4!
Alright, you're DPS, remember.
I'm doing plenty of DPS right at the moment.
Alright, good. I wanna make sure. I'm on my way.
Neckbreaker!
Alright, so reverse controls are actually kind of fun to play with. Once I get used to them.
He's getting used to it, chat. He's evolving.
I'm getting used to it again.
He's evolving, chat.
Alright, chat, I want to remind you that my up goes left, my down goes right.
He doesn't have reverse.
My right goes up, my my right goes down.
Hey, you wanna go? I think there's a... Oh, there's two valves.
No, there's a valve over there, but I think I'm gonna die.
Oh, we have
Chat,
to...
send them on Discord or on Twitch chat. Send them... I'll make you guys a music bot at some point, but now's not the time. You can send them on Discord, I don't mind.
Oh, God.
Oh, you have fun with that, okay?
Oh, fuck. Oh!
I need to figure out what my job is. Give me 1 moment, please.
God damn it.
Oh, there's one for me too. Isn't that nice? Oh, my brain remembers
Can you
the
get
fuck
off?
I'm doing. is gonna fuck me up so bad.
Fuck you!
Come on. Down. Down. Left. Good.
Ah! No! Why won't you accept my love?
He hates you.
He hates me.
You got him. Good job.
I fucking hate that. Ooh, Venom Fang. Sweet. What's turning off on your side, by the way? There might be something on fire. Oh, we only got one of them. Okay, got it. Oh, he's getting back up! Like that thing I said he would do later on. I'm going to equip, place down, and we're gonna run.
He teleported, what the fuck? He's going crazy over there.
Yeah, he's going crazy. Hold on.
He dropped down.
I hate.
No! Why was I fucking use the zip line?
I should've just
God
ran.
damn it.
I should've ran. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
I tried it. He tried it.
I didn't know you were fucked.
No, I was just being stupid and I tried to do it funny.
Oh, well.
Skill
issue.
Yeah, skill issue. Why does the H and K P8 have... Who fucking cares? We will...
Let me in. Let me in!
Let me in! Let me in! Let me in!
There we go. Alright.
One
more once.
I don't know. I don't have a Kula. You have Kula. I know what Kulo means. I know what Kulo means. Don't scream at me. Let me in! Let me in, Timo!
Come on, come on.
Yeah, don't ever pop their heads off occasionally, because that happens way too fucking often, that snake coil shit.
Just leg them.
I say as I immediately ignore my own fucking advice. You need any pistol ammo? No, you have 30.
No, I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, I checked. Don't worry, I checked!
Fuck this guy.
You know what I hate about you know what I hate about that quote? It's the "Don't worry, I checked." Don't worry, she's not pregnant. I checked. His
what do you mean you checked?
His
what
face
do you
is.
mean you checked? How did you check?
His face is covered in blood, by the way.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that's the image every time
Jesus.
That's the face. That's something I see in my head every time I say that joke.
Like that is Omega cursed.
It is. I checked. Oh wait, hold on. Ah!
Whoa!
He had C4. He had TNT. You can shoot the TNT, by the way. It instantly kills him.
Oh really? Yeah, I would be able to do that if I had my controls on right. But you know what? Thank you for the advice.
Yeah, I figured I might as well say it. I know it doesn't matter. I couldn't. I should have paid attention though. That's a me issue.
There's a guy up there. He doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You know how far Chris fucking launches that guy? He
No.
like flies.
What?
Chris Redfield makes people fly with his punches.
Oh, Boulder, man. He's boulders. He's fucking boulders.
He's fucking boulders. He's absolutely boulders, chat.
Yeah, absolutely boulders.
Balding
He's
is
balding,
nuts. He's balding.
Let me switch to this. Hello? Let me switch to this. Hello? You got a friend up there.
I see.
Oh my god.
He gets really mad when I punch him. I don't know why. Why do you think he's getting mad?
Move backwards a little bit. Yeah, he gets really mad.
He's so fucking mad. Why is he mad?
I mean,
Come
I've
on.
had somebody punch me with the strength for fucking boulders too. Why'd it reload? Oh my god!
Fuck you!
I hate video games!
I'm really not doing the smite thing here. I'm doing the high risk, no reward strategy, by the way.
It's efficient. Chris Boulder Redfield, hell yeah.
Okay, I need to turn this, and then I need to be like, run. Yippee!
And we're going over there now. There's another one.
He's gonna get back up in a second here. I'm gonna place a mine here, just a little bit further away from that spot, because that's the only way he can go. AKA I'm camping him. Bro, why you camping the hooks? Why you camping hook? Why you camping hook?
Oh, there is very much a mine there. You're right.
Yeah, I placed it down there for him, just in case. What is this? What is... Okay, he's down there. Oh. Okay, so I pull this, it reels it back, and then I can just write it down. Okay. I understand, chat.
I don't.
I think I've been building too much marathon.
Okay, so...
All the FPS puzzle solving in that game is, like, fucking weird. It was pumping oil while on fire. This place should have blown up by now. It should not be on fire.
Don't put that evil upon me, Ricky Bobby.
What the fuck?
Don't you dare put that evil upon me, Ricky. Oh.
There's another one. What?
Wait, hold on.
What do you mean, hold on?
Wait.
Ugh. I see you up there. Oh wait, I think the mine went off.
Well, they are taking position, aren't they? Wow, look, the enemy. Oh.
Him! Oh god!
Oh! Bitch!
Him!
I'm getting my ass beat.
God damn it!
You got decapitated?
Yeah, you get decapitated. He has like a try-jump move. Also, apparently a checkpoint, like right at that point. I'm gonna remove this and remove this. I don't need this.
Hold on, wait. Hold on, wait. No.
Wait.
No. Hold on. Combine. Upgrade. Can't upgrade. Because the game hates me, they don't like money.
I love money. That's why I stole this band off this man. Which is what, the snakes? Still a snake on.
Okay, we're gonna do this again.
We're gonna do it again?
Fucking Gundam. Okay. Oh, it was squishy. Yeah.
Pick the Gundam. Char never betrayed anyone, chat. Alright, hold on.
Fucking bitch.
Get out of here. Get out of here. There's shotgun ammo over here if you want it.
Hold on.
I have so much crit rate on this handgun right now, I could probably
shit.
pop a head on accident.
Hold on.
Thank you for the incendiary. Go away. Nope, that's an accident. That's an accident.
You should probably fucking kill that guy. Oh, Jesus!
Yeah, flashbangs insta-kill him. I don't know why. I guess it's because stun counts as kill for the room.
Who the fuck tried to shoot me? Come here.
I killed him.
Someone's throwing a fucking arrow at me.
Yeah, there's a couple of them on this map.
The fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
That's right. That's right. You tell him. Tell him that money ain't real.
Don't ever look at me again. I don't have to aim if I just fucking put a shotgun in your chest.
Exactly. I do not need to
We're gonna do
aim
this again.
if I send enough bullets down your way. Your chest should cease to exist when I'm done.
Exactly. Alright, what was it for this one? Go down, then go up the steps.
It's just literally go across the, it's literally use the zip lines.
Oh, zipline. Okay, 1 second.
Okay. Gold? 100 gold. I got 500, I got 50k. I can officially retire as Chris Redfield.
You have 50k? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I can retire. I can retire.
Just leave Africa right now.
We can just leave Africa right now. 50k.
Just fail the mission.
Listen, if I have 50k and I was like, I got through illegal blood money, I am leaving.
Honestly?
Fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you always have to get in my way? Wait, where's the melee button?
I don't know your controls.
Do you see it? Holy shit! Oh my god.
Nice. Get fucked.
Venom Fang, hell yeah.
Whatever it is, give it to me. I don't know what it is though.
It's his family heirloom that we're stealing for our personal gain, because fuck him. He came as a chainsaw. Fuck him.
Okay. Fuck him. 1 second, let me fix my shit. Press this. Press this. Press square.
Square? Press square?
Okay. Yeah. Magnum ammo. Square, circle, combine. Handgun. No, almost. My brain keeps thinking I'm playing Silent Hill. I'm so fucked.
You know what's funny is I noticed that a lot of people who excel specifically at one game, if you take them immediately out of that game, like let's say you play Apex for like 10 years or 5 years, and then you put them in another game, their skills suddenly drop to like way worse than before. But for this person, good.
That's how it works. That's how it works. You spend so long learning that one thing that like it's a lot of it is also muscle memory.
Yeah, it doesn't apply there. But if you play a shit ton of other games, and you start playing a different game, like let's say you play like 30 different FPSs, so you'll have. Oh, hold on.
Oh my god, they died.
Yeah, he had a C4. He had dynamite. That was not safe of him. He did not follow standard OSHA protocols, and that's how he died.
I don't know if OSHA
He did
involves
not.
dynamite.
Yeah, actually there is actual OSHA pamphlets for how I handled dynamite.
Okay, that's new. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
But you would have to be training in explosives.
Okay. Can I please have this many? No. Don't. Whatever you do, do not
you
place
put
that
a
fucking
mine.
door. Do not place that mine. Whatever you do, do not place that mine.
You place the mine in the door just to breach and clear. That would make sense.
And then we all die.
Mm? I mean, if you did it from far away enough. Don't scream at me. That's...
My controls are defying human nature right now.
Also, for some reason, they put Chef in an office uniform out in the way.
Hey, it is what it is. Fuck is Josh? God, Chris, you can't be that strong.
Are you okay?
No.
What?
No.
How did you get here?
We were at the port when we were attacked. And then
That's not enough.
I ended up here.
No, I need more information.
Where's the rest of the team?
Oh, he expected them all alive.
Shit.
It's just the
He was just trying to do a
Why
deal.
did we retreat? I mean, we are no match for them.
Yeah, he's a fucking traitor.
The hard drive containing data on the BAW experiment had a picture inside. The picture was of Chris's
BOW.
Afraid?
Chris, you're an
I'm not
investigator.
leaving until I catch Irving and find out what the hell's going on here.
Christopher Redfield.
Let's save the chit chat for later.
Bro, oh my god, this guy is cracked.
We're fighting crackheads in Africa. This guy is fucking slow.
You move way too slow on that one, buddy. Like, way too slow.
Everyone else is quicker than you. Chris Redfield's quicker.
Oh wait, this is what he's good at. Yeah, you keep doing that. Alright, this is what we need you for.
You press buttons. Pressing buttons, chat.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's a lot of heads I'm getting.
I'm gonna off me.
Alright. I'm gonna have a bad habit of spawning a bunch of... By the way, I checked with the levels. You know that one where they had a shit ton of worms popping out? It was specific to that level. The mines.
Word?
Yeah, I played it. I had to play going back through because I wanted to pick up an item, which was the Dragonov. So when I went through it, I realized, oh, these enemies are specifically spying in for the headshots. And only there.
Oh.
You have 5, I have 11. Sir, get down. Sir, get from that one. I don't think this game is balanced for PC.
Balance for what?
PC. Saddam Hussein.
Oh.
Almost?
Hurry up, brother, come on.
Neckbreaker! Hit him!
Down. Got it. You two, on the elevator. Move!
No, he has gems. I want to kill him.
That's a big guy.
For you.
Where you going? Where you going? Stop.
Give me that. Yeah, Joe Bangled. Holy shit, we're getting money. Wait, did we kill all the ones that spawned in?
Seems to be the case.
We're fucking sick.
We did it. Good job. Good work. Good work. Good work. Good work.
We're sick.
What do you mean? What do I have to do? What do you want me to do?
I think
Me?
you have to team up. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean move? We killed them all. Oh wait, no, there's a new wave coming in, sorry.
These bastards don't quit.
When have they ever? Well, XD. I gotta quit using that language, I'm sorry, it's like...
You sure?
It's
You can just be cringe by yourself.
I'm cringe, but for some reason I have to spread it. That's ain't gonna that's proximity bomb.
That sounds racially motivated.
What?
That
What?
sounds racially motivated.
I don't
Hey,
understand.
bitch. Hey.
Okay, I'll shoot him just in case. Or try it anyways. That sounds racially motivated.
Oh no! He got the dog in him!
He's got that dog in him. He's got that dog. Ooh! I should probably
He
hit.
doesn't want to die. Never mind.
Okay, he's got it. I was about to shoot, but it's fine.
Okay.
As it turns out, Doggywara is a strong, independent woman we need so man.
I need no man. Except the punch boulders.
Yeah,
Except for punch boulders. That's what I actually need.
and opening
a man.
opening lids.
Even more so, I need a red field.
I need
Most likely, any red field could probably punch that boulder, but Chris is really good at it.
yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of guys.
Oh,
Oh,
there's-
there's a shotgun dude.
Not this shit.
Oh,
Not this shit again.
not this. Oh, mines. Wait, you have the mines.
Okay, I'm dropping at the bottom of this ladder. You have fun with that, okay?
That was not a good throw.
Okay, you're gonna need to have fun. Cause I'm putting these mines in the worst place I could possibly put them.
I've noticed.
Okay? So now it's my turn. Wait.
Ah!
Ah! Don't die!
I can't move from here. By the way, you need to come up here.
Okay, hold on. I healed you!
Yeah, that's an instant down. Remember?
Oh, you got the. Wait, you didn't get the calculated.
I got a hand grenade. I got basic heal. Okay, that's weird. I have 2 eggs. Woo, venom fang. Let me see here. 3,000.
Like an egg in this trying time.
Would you like an egg in these trying times, chat? I offer you egg.
Okay, equip 2.
That is how you
Right.
should harass women. You should do it lovingly, and you should lovingly harass them with an egg. A nice hard boiled.
Lovingly harass is a very interesting choice of words.
Lovingly harass them, yes.
Lovingly make them uncomfortable.
Exactly. Be the tsundere that they never asked for.
Sun deer!
Yeah. John Deere. Sun Deere. Sunder. I'm gonna replace some proximity bombs, fuck it, because I already saw what happened.
It's okay. I can do that. Go downstairs.
Yippee!
Yippee.
There should be. No, there's one. Ah! He's getting killed. Okay.
You should work on that.
Not again. I know you are.
I know you are. What?
Sorry, sorry, force of habit.
Okay. Okay.
Is everything locked down?
Yes, everything's locked down, sir. Alright, so let me go up. I'm
Machine
gonna
gun.
press square. I'm gonna equip these.
I'm just really aggressive, if anything.
Let's have a see what I can do.
Hold on, wait.
I'm just really aggressive.
Not this shit again. You
Not this shit again.
Oh, no, don't go that way. Don't go that way. Come back towards me.
I see it.
Okay.
I shot a moving target in Resident Evil.
Congratulations. I can't do that. Alright. You just be careful. Don't die. Don't die. Don't die.
Okay.
Alright, we can leave.
I want his treasure. I want his
You want his
jewels.
shit?
Yeah, I want his shit.
Okay. While you do that, I'm gonna pillow princess. Also, wait, don't wait. Hold on, wait.
You need to give me your royal
You still
jewels.
alive?
Yeah, take a punishment. I guess it's faster when you team up on like that. Yeah, grab his treasure. Grab his jewels. Yeah,
shit.
fuck him.
Do your shit. Run your pockets. Thank you, dude, for like actually staying here for no reason. I would have just left. He's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm crazy. I will absolutely steal your jewels. You will have nothing left. You will be drained of all
It
valuables.
looks like Irving is trying to
Jacked.
and make his escape. We must stop him before it is too late. I'll try to find us a way out of here.
Wait, how do you know they're trying to blow us up?
We'll go after Irving.
Good. Okay. Now there's a dock up.
How do you know he's trying to blow us up? Because I told you before he's a traitor. I don't remember this. I just know from instinct. Also,
Be careful.
his language, like his etiquette, is wrong. Like you're
Wrong?
right.
In what sense?
Let's hurry.
Like how much he knows. Like the fact you keep pointing that out, how much he knows, and the fact
Yeah,
he's
he knows more. Well, I feel like we've dealt with Irving more than he has, but like also at the same time, shouldn't if you're that good, like, shouldn't we know about you? Shouldn't you be with us?
Oh, here we go back in. I can't get back in. Oh, just get these barrels. Gold.
Oh, the guy on the barrels.
How much gold do you have, by the
Oh,
way?
this is just their side. How much gold do I have? I'm gonna press square. That doesn't tell me shit. Oh, it does. I have 60. I have 64. Wait. I have 6,450 N-word passes.
With
Yes.
passes, yeah.
That's what I have.
Damn. That's impressive.
It is actually. I made them myself. Hold on. Let me.
Wait, did we both get the treasure amount whenever I sell? That's weird.
Supposedly, theoretically.
Anyways.
I wish this game worked.
I mean, it's working. It's just not working
It's
for you.
working. Just not. It's working for you. I could probably play this game better on my fucking fight stick.
That would be hilarious. And I feel like you could probably do a stream where you just have like the camera pointing down, showing everyone the fight stick.
I play Silent Hill on my fight stick. Speedrun.
I am using tilt controls, he says, as he uses the fight stick. That is grenades, and that's shotgun ammo. That's for you.
Yeah, I need that.
You're the shotgun princess.
Why did cutscene suddenly pop? Shotgun princess? I'll take it.
There he is.
I have no
There he
complaints.
is.
This fucking Organization 13 looking ass.
Isn't that what? Who is
Is
what?
that who? How do you know?
Splendid timing!
Oi, mates!
This guy looking like a fucking random Fight Club character.
Yeah, I can see him being a criminal, just not in Africa, or like
Wait!
this scene. I see him probably running a club, not like, I guess not in the military part. The warlord part.
Yakuza.
Yeah.
Shiva, do you read me? I secured a boat. I'm on the other side of the dock. Get here on the double.
Get here on the double.
I feel like we could have been
Wait,
together
you-
at this point.
You can drive to us! What do you mean, boy? This asshole is on the boat. He won't bother to drive over.
I'm going to the boat.
Probably smart. That was not what I wanted. Give me the shotgun rounds, and I'll give it to him later. Where is he? He's over there.
I'm in trouble. You know what? I decided to not be in trouble. Get off me, 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 get off me.
Backed up, backed up, backed up, backed up. We gotta oh wait, hold on, we gotta shoot that open. There we go.
You what open? We gotta shoot the thing open?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Help, dogs!
Oh my god.
Hurry up, you two. We are ready to entertain.
I've noticed!
What did I get hit by?
Run! That's what I was screaming about.
What? Can't hurt me. No.
Come on, Fatso. Come on, Fatty.
You wanna come downstairs?
Yeah, I want to come downstairs. Sorry. Woo. Damn, there's so much loot there. I'm greedy.
Just let it be. Don't be a greedy motherfucker.
I don't get paid often.
Right? Are you gonna ask Chris if he's alright too?
No, he doesn't need to.
I'm Folder Man.
Are you alright, Chris? Huh?
Do you see these muscles? Strong as fuck.
Fast as fuck, boy. Can you believe how
just
fast?
bounce off. Alright, well, we committed an actual crime.
This would be, what is it, malpractice sabotage? What would be under accidental sabotage of an oil pipeline?
Is it malpractice if you kill a zombie that's like halfway towards a zombie?
S rank, C, C. Wait, did you not get a grade?
No, I was that bad.
Oh my god.
Right? Impressive, isn't it?
No rank.
You know what?
I'm not gonna say anything. I wasn't doing any better, it's fine.
Hold on, wait.
I say, with an 8.
If I upgrade my gun, I get ammo back, if I remember correctly.
Capacity mainly.
And I sell this. And I sell all of this.
I'm gonna remove the shotgun shells as I can stay in my back pocket.
I like how we ran into Africa's shit and we're selling their shit to who?
Yeah, we're on the boat right now. Who are we selling this to? Yes, we're selling this to someone.
Someone, just someone? Yeah, alright, got it.
Yeah, Mr. Someone. Mr. Johnson, as we call him.
Mr. Johnson.
Now, in criminal terms, or in legality terms, the reason why you say Mr. Johnson is because if you get interrogated and they want a name, you can immediately give one and say Mr. Johnson. And the issue is Johnson is technically a real name. It's a real.
Then
they could look it up. They could go search for it, and now you have more. Your rescuers have more time to deal with it. This is why.
dude,
I'm sorry.
fucking lawyer gets there.
Yeah. Well, if you're, I'm sorry. I'm thinking. I'm addicted to Shadowrun. I miss my Shadowruns.
I've never played Shadowrun.
Between Cyberpunk and Shadowrun, it's interesting. I don't know.
What happened to
I played Shadowrun for probably like an entire year or two. It was fun. It was up and downs. It was definitely interesting dealing with vampire
Can't
lawyers.
have gone too far.
Biker game of vampire lawyers who are basically experiencing what's it called? Oh,
Oh, we're doing this again.
Thank me later. We got company.
thank you, later. What do you
Okay.
mean?
Thank you for what? What did you do?
Wait,
Tuxedo mask.
give me infinite ammo, please.
Here we go. Hang on tight.
What am I supposed to do?
Okay,
Left, right, go.
so
down. Oh, hold on.
if you see them have dynamite, point them towards me.
If I see dynamite?
Dynamite or Molotovs, because that instantly kills them. If you shoot the Molotov or the dynamite, instantly kills them.
Where's the rest of them?
They're on the bridge. Come on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyways, here's me committing war
Fuck shot you.
crimes. Behind us.
Behind us.
Shit. I'm doing a lot of the shooting. Excuse me here.
Okay. No, you're going to. I can't. Oh, birds!
See what you two can do to get it open.
Are you serious?
No. I say nah. while, like, doing it. You guys exist for the wrong reasons. I hate you.
Okay, well, time to knife.
It would be nice if you just had HIV.
Normal HIV.
It would be nice instead of
something.
doing the fucking tentacle monster.
Stop dying.
Sorry. Look, I can't scream manly, I just have to scream like a generic Bob.
Scream like a fucking NPC.
Yeah. God damn it.
Whoa.
Yeah, they sweep.
Die, bitch.
Yeah, you're gonna jump? Fuck you.
Oh my fucking god. Combine. Handgun. Combine.
Oh, okay, yeah, kill. I can't quit this.
Alright, bring ass.
Okay. I will bring ass to you. Also,
Bring ass.
behold ass.
Thank you. There we go.
All right, let's go.
There you go. Okay, I can get.
Look, the enemy. Go up. Go up.
Get down.
Get down. Oh, automatically does it. I'm like, where's it?
Another pipe. Get down.
Alright, got it. It's only a bit of oil, right? We're not gonna get charged for this, right?
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, this is
Fine.
fine.
Need your legs.
He's gonna blow up.
I did not mean to give that to you, but too late now. Whoa! Whoa!
Ugh.
What did you get hit by?
Think TNT.
Okay, you two know what to do.
Do I?
What do you mean we know what to do? What do you mean we know what to do?
You know what to do, he says. Can't get ammo. Oh, thank God, 15 rounds. Oh. Oh.
Come on,
Oh my god.
come on.
Fuck you.
Oh, that was TNT.
Oh shit, they have a gunner.
Where?
He's shooting me right now. Got him. Jesus Christ, I'm like having to do point man shooting. It's fine. It's fine. It was just a Molotov, man.
He's dead.
Oh, fuck you.
Good job. Now I'm coming to fucking kill you, cause now I know where you live. Come here.
Ooh, rifle ammo.
Hello, fool.
Right here. Oh, God.
Oh, he dropped machine gun ammo. I don't need that.
Okay. Oh, wait, there's stuff with speedboats here. Damn it, if only we could hijack these.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, if we could just have on speedboats, yeah. This guy's doing nothing, by the way. He's just sitting in the boat.
Why? You have the wrong game on your stream. It says Silent Hill. It should say Resident Evil 5. What do you mean?
This is just Silent Hill, guys. What are you talking about? Oh, I have to be on the other side. I have to be on the other side. I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on.
Don't worry about it. Just stay right there.
Oh no, wait. I already have it going. I need to fix this real quick. It shouldn't say Silent Hill. I fixed this shit earlier. Alright, I'm fixing it right now.
Chat, watch out. Doggy.
Don't worry about it. Okay. I'll live. I'll live.
I got him.
We're fine.
You're fine.
We're done.
You're amazing. Holy shit.
We're fine. We're fine. We're fine.
He's
I
a
ain't
shit.
doing shit. I ain't doing shit.
He's a shit. Machine gun ammo. That's for me.
Thank you for letting me know.
I gave you some shotgun rounds, by the way.
Wow, thanks.
Let me check.
Oh, look, the enemy.
I am going to loot some stuff, and there's a Gatling gun on here, by the way.
Wish my controls were reversed. Kill me. Whoa. Okay.
Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta! Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta! Ra-ta-ta. By the way, if you see power boxes, you can shoot them down to basically create a hazard for enemies.
I'd rather leave. If you squint hard up, looks like Silent Hill? Yeah, it is. Come on, Silent Hill. We're dealing with our traumas together.
I can see co-op Silent Hill selling. I'm just looting stuff, don't mind me.
I like the idea of it, but I don't like the idea of it.
I think it would be ruined just by the concept, but also it's a funny idea. Can I come in here? Yes! There's stuff in here!
Stuff?
Yeah, go loot for a bit. Hold on. There's a shit ton of, like, herbals.
Alright, we're gonna leave the fucking black man down here. Goodbye, black man.
Ooh, a gem! Doggy, meanwhile, fighting for his life. Ooh, a gem!
I'm fighting for my fucking life.
Ooh, a piece of candy!
An African delicacy.
Yeah, it's called an emerald. Illegal diamond mines. Come
Hey,
here!
shit down
Come
here.
here! Come here!
What? What?
There you go. There you go.
Okay, now I feel better. Slightly. What are you guys doing here? Fuck off.
That is a lot of them.
That is a lot of them. Hold on. We can fix this. Could you, Sheva, go this way. The enemy.
Okay, that's a death.
Hi.
That's 4 of them. Okay. Okay, we can leave. Sorry, I wanted to loot.
Okay.
Where's Trevor's right there? Okay. Roger, roger. Okay, correcto.
Okay.
Yeah, they're starting to regain their numbers. We need to actually leave.
Can you imagine if, like, this guy's just like, why are they picking up shit? We have to go.
I think he did say it. He just says it once, though.
Stop.
By the way, I found an emerald in one of the stations. Like,
An emerald?
yeah, an emerald.
Why is Africa always filled with gems?
Probably from all the gem mines that they have, because Africa is technically unplundered.
Interesting.
Did he just die?
Jesus.
Oh, no!
Shit.
Ah!
How did they miss?
They have zombie in the brain. Also, not good at guns.
They are very clearly not.
We gotta get aboard that ship. Hold on. Get ready.
What do you mean, get ready? Oh, God.
This guy is cracked.
Yeah, you go, Chris. Yeah.
Holy shit, Chris.
Fuck yeah.
Just like the Chris from the movie.
He's the
Irving,
exact
could
same
you fuck
man.
off?
He looks British.
He looks British.
Wait, mate. I swear me mum said illegal fucking drugs. I got them fucking gold bars, I swear, and some gold bullion for some fucking cocaine, I swear. Alright, that's enough of that.
I always wondered what these guys do with like the gold and the money. Like, what's your next plan?
Who is going to buy your gold?
Won't you two just die already? You're making
No.
me look bad.
You are bad.
This entire
He ain't me look bad.
research like this doesn't fund itself, you know.
He's got a point, Chris.
Yet everyone looks down on me.
There's probably a reason for that.
But not anymore. Don't do it!
Don't do heroin. Oh no, I'm gonna have to kill him. Oh, the voice acting is so fucking cheesy.
Irving, you dumbass. Everyone looks down on me. I'm going to do illegal virus drugs and become a squid monster. I sound like... You know what he sounds like? Wait, hold on. I can't remember the name of... He died, but... He played the parrot in, Aladdin. What's his name?
Damn, I actually don't know the fucking name.
God damn.
Man titties, man titties, man titties. Listen. They're not for you. The titties belong to me. They're mine.
Meanwhile, the tentacles are happening right now.
He becomes a whole ass whale.
I just had an extreme makeover.
Why are you a baby? You look like a fetus baby.
He's the baby.
He's a giant baby, man. Oh, I need to load my...
How did he grow that much?
I don't know.
How did he grow that much flesh in that short amount of time?
Resident Evil logic.
Chris, status report. What the hell is that thing?
It's Irving, I'm sorry.
It's too dangerous.
Oh, okay. We can just launch rockets then.
Aye. No shit.
Dot. Survive.
Please. Please.
Shoot the bubbly
Oh.
parts.
Alright, well. I'm just fucked.
Ouch.
Oh my god. Reverse controls, please. I pressed A, but I didn't press A.
I'll handle it, I think.
Can I not be pressing fucking...
There we go. There we go. Look at that, chat. Look at that, chat. I'm carrying.
You have to carry. I can't fucking aim.
Oi! There be the white
Really can't
word!
aim.
There she blows! Arr! That was like... I'm literally using that fucking howitzer cannon right now.
Using what?
It's a single big gun. Fuck you. Get back under. Get your tentacles back under.
What the fuck did I get hit by?
Tentacle.
It's
Come here.
Silent Hill.
See you were hit by a Silent Hill.
Oh!
We need to be on the turret and we need to constantly be shooting it. It's on the side now. You are minigun man, I am mortar man.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's a better... That's probably better for you anyways.
What the fuck? Okay, that was kind of crazy, actually. Hello? Hello?
Can I fucking
Shut
aim?
up. Get on it.
Thank God I don't have to aim. Or thank God I don't have to use my ammo. There we go.
Fuck this kid.
Ah! Why did he turn into a whale? Why did he turn into a whale? I didn't know he was
Resident Evil
bulking.
logic. He's bulking.
He's bulking. I'm just bulking, guys. Oh shit.
What?
I gotta keep my finger on the FE button. Ah! I need to actually dodge, chat. I need to actually dodge. There we go. Okay. Yeah, if the minigun's actually going faster, I'm actually having like
Can I have this all the time?
the minigun.
Yes.
I wish.
I know the answer is no, but I have wishes.
Look, I understand. I play I play Serious Sam, so having a portable hand cannon would be great. Not Desert Eagle. I mean like a hand cannon. Oh god, he's behind. Woo!
Yes, he is. I see him, but I don't know what I should be doing. I press X. That's bullshit.
I'm just opening fire. Ah! I'm so glad we upgrade from a crappy little dinky speedboat to like a to like a patrol boat.
Oh!
Ah!
We're in phase 2.
I don't think he's
Why is he so
controlling it.
happy?
Alright, stop playing. Weirdo. He says he's not playing, but for some reason he's playing. Doggy, you can use the minigun.
Oh, minigun him?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
It felt like he wanted to die.
he does. We can shoot his eye when he does that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shit. Of course he chooses the low damage minigun, so...
I got you, fucking whore!
Yeah! We're dodging! Fuck you, get interrupted. You know, the point of having 3 barrels on a gun is to reduce... Ah! The point of 3 barrels on a gun is to reduce overheat. For what I know. I dodged nothing, thanks. Is he dead?
Die, bitch! Die!
Oh no! We got disconnected.
Oh, get fucked.
He got disconnected.
Get fucked.
So, was it worth it?
Tell me what you're planning to do.
Tell me what you're playing. Chris, the guy made a fucking fucked up flash. What are you doing, boy?
What are you doing?
Where is this facility? Answer me. What is the Ouroboros project?
I think you're seeing it right now, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about.
The balance in the oil is changing and you're completely oblivious to it.
What's changed?
Called out.
What are you talking about? Is it the Ouroboros?
You called him dumb.
Is that it?
You're just made of muscle, not brain cells. You fucking idiot.
Ouroboros is about to change everything.
Ouroboros.
Chris. See, you're Chris.
What's so funny? How do you know about me?
What you my name?
Wait ahead, Chris. In that
You know what would be the funniest thing in the world?
What?
Doing bad shit, dying. Someone says someone's name and you pretend that you know them, so they go to an existential crisis. And then you die.
I can see that happening.
Wasted time.
And then you just fuck them up. Jesus Christ, Chris. Goddamn, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait, Trevor, why did you stop him? Because he's dying anyway? What is he gonna do? Drop loot?
Poor bastard.
What do you mean, poor bastard? You're about to kill him.
We keep going.
Poor bastard. I was about to shoot him anyways.
What the fuck?
He didn't
can't-
deserve the bullet, though.
I can't tell if he actually cared or not.
He doesn't.
I cannot tell.
You
I
review
don't think he does.
Ricardo Irving's file in the library. Yippee. I just... Chris is just... I think he forgets the things he does in the moment.
Literally 3 seconds later.
Like, he's like pointing... Like, you saw him. He was pointing the gun at him. He's like... What do you know? He's like... Trevor had to stop him. But then afterwards, he's like... Ah, poor bastard. Okay, my SVD is almost fully upgraded.
I think he's just fucking stupid. Hold on.
No shit.
Resident Evil protagonist being smart.
Impossible.
Wait, hold on. Sell Ruby.
We will sell everything. Ooh, that's 3,000. How much is the snake? The snake is 3,000. The bangle is 1,000, and the ring is 5,000. Cool.
Upgrade. Can I upgrade capacity yet? I can upgrade capacity. Give me ammo.
I really wish I could give this spare, like... I wish I could give this spare as the VZ61. But they don't want us to share.
That's mean. It's a co-op game. What the fuck?
Yeah, you can't share the guns. I have like 3 shotguns.
I don't want you to dupe. Because you come back in with your inventory. Well,
Okay.
Actually, maybe it doesn't matter, actually.
Well, here's the issue with that logic. You've already seen how to dupe.
Oh, yeah, from earlier?
Yeah, that's literally how you do it. You just basically... You go in, you get kicked out, and then AI Sheva takes over, and you can ask Sheva for all the items. This includes all the upgrades.
Wait, hold on.
It's insane.
Rocket launcher.
Ooh, an M3 shotgun, $4,000.
A stun rod?
Yeah, it's been in there for a
Oh,
while.
shit. Well, we're here now.
Shotgun. That has... Let me compare this. Oh, this has more damage.
Am I?
The M3. Has more damage. It has more firepower. Like, it starts off with more damage than the shotgun, and it has only less shotgun capacity. But I'll look at it. I might have missed it. Probably could have missed it. Oh, wait, there was probably that guard tower. Okay, so the first and the second one.
Our tower. What do you mean?
Let me see here. Yeah! Okay, I see it. Once the boat stops second time, wander around until you find a small cabin. There's a weapon just outside of it, and it's the M3.
That's the boat the woman used to get away.
Oh, we missed it.
Yeah, we missed it. We can
Wah,
get...
wah.
Yeah. The thing is that this game offers you a chance to buy it, but you can always just go back through the chapters to get the shotgun. If you have, like, someone who's already fully upgraded, you could just have them run through the game and have everyone else pick up weapons.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
There's nothing I can do to stop you. I will
What?
call HQ and try to
What do you
get
mean
the
stop
waiver
us?
order rescinded. I will also try to get you back up.
The dialogue in this game is very interesting.
It is. Let me disconnect my controller so I can charge my phone.
What?
Ugh.
You're dying.
I am dying, mentally.
No, like you're dying.
What do you mean I'm dying? I'm perfectly healthy.
Look, 1 HP. Yep. Mm-hmm. We're playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm fine. Chat, you can see I'm fine.
Director of Tricel's act-
He's not fine.
Do you think she could be connected to her?
He's fucking dying.
But I don't have any proof.
He just wants to be strong for me, that's all.
There's a connection.
No, I want my controls to work.
But if we keep going, we're bound to find
I am actually dying though. So,
Why didn't you get a house spray?
I didn't think it would carry over like that, but we managed to kill him anyways.
Oh, here we are. Get ready for the Africans.
Get ready for the no!
Oh,
Oh,
fuck,
oh
it's
god!
worse!
Ah! Ah!
Wait. Wait. Down.
Oh, that is way worse. Holy shit!
Okay, I'd rather fight the human-sized people.
Come back here.
Oh shit!
Ew! Ew! Ugh! Jesus Christ! God damn, this. It would be even worse if they like attached to you.
Oh, like face huggers.
Yeah, facehuggers, but I don't think they're insta-kill. Honestly, facehuggers are terrifying just because of that. Both the insta-kill aspect and the fact that they, like, get in your face. I can't believe La Plagas actually infects other animals. Wow. It's almost like this is a bad idea!
Come here, take this.
Okay. Okay. Here, use your explosives. You have
Thanks, man.
you have 3 explosives.
I have 3 explosives that I am not fucking using.
I've noticed.
Oh! Ah!
I just helped you. You have bombs. Use them.
No! Ah!
Use them.
Hold up.
Why did I give you a grenade?
Wow, that sure is a lot of guys.
Ah! Oh, oh. These things drop a lot of loot, though. Nah, you missed a chance.
I don't...
By the way, these
You did,
grenades, these grenades are only worth like $100, by the way.
Oh, they're not that expensive at all.
They have 1,000 in store, but when you go to sell them, they're like $100. So keeping them is only for like... I have a whole army of guns. Oh, hey, the African ruins.
Where the fuck are we?
Yeah, the African ruins. Look.
The actual African ruins. Why is the Triforce here?
It's a, it's the super crystal. Look, the fucking.
I never knew such a place existed.
This is goofy as shit.
I never knew such a place existed.
Been some recent activity.
If Chris is even concerned that like this is ancient society down here.
Chris knows so much.
Chris is just like, yeah, we gotta find that Las Plagas stuff. What? Ancient society? I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a spider. Can we kill it?
Yeah,
Why'd you do that?
it was funny.
It didn't do anything. It was nice.
It was you were screaming about the spiders earlier, so it's fine.
No, but those are bad spiders. These are the good spiders.
Oh yeah, like the fluffy tarantulas that you would like let crawl in your hand.
Yeah, those ones are the good ones. These
This
are
is
the bad ones.
this is no one right here.
Don't shoot it.
Fine. Fine, I
It
will
just
not.
wants to live.
It just wants to scare around and claw on the walls.
Go trigger the enemies. This is... Fuck. I did it by accident.
You get to experience an ambush. Oh my god!
Chris, you punch bull, just jump over it. Well, how do I use my shotgun?
Hand grenades. Hand grenade. Machine ammo. Whee! I go down. You go up.
I go up? Okay.
You go up. I go down. You Obama?
What do I need to do? Whoa!
That was horrible.
I
didn't
don't think I can help you with that.
No, I'm just gonna die.
You
That
got
was
fucking stabbed.
I was not prepared for it. I saw the FV button, and the issue is FV is such. I hate the mix-up controls. I hate whenever they mix you up because it's like, oh, you're getting too used to it with the A and D dodge. We're gonna have FV be the new control scheme, by the way. It's like, fuck you.
Oh yeah, they did that last time, yeah.
I hate it.
That's okay. All my controls are fucking ass backwards anyway, so I don't even have any complaints because I can't.
My only issue with that too is FV is the partner controls and not the that's for calling your partner, so it's like there's no reason for me to have my finger on there.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so it's essentially telling me be prepared to call your buddy and use. Alright.
Alright, ambush time.
Yeah, we can skip this.
We can skip it.
Let me skip.
Skip?
Skip. Yippee! Alright, I need to not let my greed overcome me.
Yeah, that would be nice. Alright, what's the puzzle for me here?
Holy shit, that was a good chain combo of dead people. No, I didn't want to do that. Fuck. Ugh. Oh, okay.
There's been somebody behind me.
Most likely. Can you get back on the floor?
I pressed X, you piece of shit!
More machine gun ammo. Oh my god, he got comboed. I love it when they trip and then you just combo into them. There we go.
Where's the rest of them?
Upstairs.
Okay.
Ah, goddammit. I hate when that happens.
Yay! Yeah, let's grab all the shit in here.
I love defiling ancient civilizations for treasure.
Yes, we're stealing back our donations that we gave to the supermarket. It's fine. It was ours to begin with.
Exactly.
No problem.
Holy shit.
It's just like the government takes back their fucking taxes. It's fine.
It's
if
fine.
They can do it.
We can do it. And then I'll just mix this, and now I have a full heal. Ooh, there's a gem over here. A mummy in a sarcophagus. This place is a burial ground.
Can you give me back my shotgun shells? I'll give them to you by accident.
Oh, yeah. I need that. Yo.
I owe you one.
You owe me one.
Oh, you want?
Oh, shotgun
So
rounds.
now we go.
Oh, no. Another.
Come on!
I love.
Christopher.
Christopher with fun.
Oh. What the fuck?
I guess that's karma, but whatever. We're gonna karma these people back. Here you go.
Love me, whore. Why did the spiders drop ammo?
They always dropped ammo. I'm surprised you haven't been
Yeah.
noticing.
No, I'm blind. Die.
I think there's a trap.
It's a trap. You think it's a trap?
I think it's a trap, but you can try to open it. I don't really care about having a perfect game.
Nice trap, bitch. Riches? Riches and hoes?
Yeah! Another gem! Man, I love looting ancient civilizations. What do you mean this is illegal or immoral? I
It's
don't
not
know.
grave robbing.
Yeah, it's not grave robbing. It's still here. Technically, this is just donations.
Wow, there's a lot of shit happening over here.
Woo! Wait, is he, he's having a moment. Okay. Why are they? Oh. There might be a spawn limit to these bugs, but I don't really know.
That spider tried to fucking kill me.
They all are. What are you talking about?
Why'd this one try to kill me?
Man,
I know they all want to hurt me, but like that particular one really didn't like me.
is this what Laplagus does to spiders? That's so sad.
There's a lot of guys in here. Let me check my ammo real quick. And for some reason they're waiting for us.
You have a grenade? Yeah, you have 3 grenades. Throw a grenade at them. Fuck them.
Throw a grenade at him? Oh!
Yeah.
Fuck him up early, got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
fuck them up
one second.
early. Don't give them a chance to spawn. Okay, that's those 2. Is there any more? Good enough. I shot him in the dick!
that was very mean, but he doesn't really need it anymore. So you know what? You might actually be okay. I'm under the impression once you become a zombie, there's rifle ammo over here.
I just find it funny. It's like the last shot to get him is the dick shot. I saw it too. Like, yeah,
If you shot me in the dick, I'd be so fucking angry.
I don't think you. Okay, if you get shot in the dick, you realize that's a willpower save, right?
Willpower?
Willpower saved to not.
Whoa.
Yeah, watch out for the burning balls.
Yeah, but what's the plan?
Avoid them. I would just let them roll. Yeah, let them roll.
They can't come up here, right?
I don't fucking know.
Well, time to figure it out.
It doesn't look like you can get up here. It looks like it's just that center courtyard. Yeah, see? Courtyard. Just tracking the ammo. Get the tracking ammo.
I am.
Grab all of it. You'll need all of it. I am not greedy, I swear. That is why I am greedy running through here and grabbing stuff.
You are a greedy motherfucker.
I am not greedy. I am just economically minded.
Economically minded. I am trying to be financially sound and responsible.
Exactly. There's... we have to... I think we have to keep the... Someone has to keep it, closed.
We gotta run over there and get it open.
Okay. Okay.
We gotta... When the moment we get out of here, we gotta fucking, be done.
Yep. How about... almost 2 hours in, by the way.
Almost 2 hours in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now we run.
Need to make sure I keep a fucking eye on the time.
Ah! Why did it run? It fucking nudged towards me! It nudged towards me!
See you later! Well, only one of us need to get there. Okay, nice. Nice
Nice the ancients to leave a front door.
You ever wonder how they make these mechanics?
Kind of. Mostly, yeah, actually. I do know that real life tombs are like this. Like, real life rich people tombs are very much like this.
Rich people tombs?
Yeah. They will fucking spice it up with traps. Apparently it's documented that... Was it Genghis? Yeah, I see it.
Wait. You probably don't want to touch it. Never mind, the game makes us touch it. Okay. Chris punches Boulder. Trevor runs as fast as Chris. Oh my god, these jumps are crazy.
I'm not even doing anything.
I thought it was a QTE.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm sitting here waiting for my fucked up controls to fucking pop up.
Chris! Yeah,
like, if you can pull up Chris, that's crazy.
She can barely pull him up. No, don't fucking cross like that. That's stupid.
This is how you get your legs crushed and you just both die.
That's how you get your fucking chest crushed down and compressed.
You're just dead. What is this?
Oh, thankfully they leave like a little cloth on these chains. No, not the bees! Wait, what do you mean bees? What do you mean bees? There's no bees in here.
I want them to be bees.
Oh no. We weren't just fighting spiders earlier. Oh my god.
Well, I don't want those kind of spiders.
What? Oh, you mean like flying spiders, right?
Yeah, those are not okay.
Those were in RE4, weren't they? We
RE4? I've played RE4 since the Wii, so I don't know actually.
Okay. Well, there's 1 through 4. I know I like the single player experience, and then 7, 8 is also the single player experience, and then 5 and 6 are the co-op eras. I say it like it makes sense. Ooh,
All I know is that people don't like 6. I don't know anything else about 6.
It's a mess. Oh, this thing's like a shoot down.
Was it made to be multiplayer?
RE5, RE6?
6.
Yes.
I know this game is obviously made to be multiplayer.
RE6 is multiplayer. Except for Ava's, I believe. I think someone can clarify that.
Oh, wait, where did you go?
I shot a bat. It wasn't even like an evil bat, it was just a bat. Sometimes you shoot the bird... Okay, look. Shooting the animal sometimes drops items, I don't know why. Oh, look, there's gold! Yeah, hey, look, there's gold!
I'm gonna assume you went downstairs.
There's a grenade launcher?!
There you are. There's a grenade launcher?
Holy shit! Woo!
You didn't have to buy it?
Did you
How
buy
about
yours?
someone just regular? No, I didn't buy mine.
Yeah, look, it's a grenade launcher.
Mine was 10K. I didn't have the money at the time.
I have 12 rounds of explosive ammo. I might let. Okay, so I might, if I have the grenade launcher, I might consider just using the machine pistol as a pistol,
Oh,
and then you can get the pistol rounds. Man, that's so nice.
whatever works.
I found a free grenade launcher. I can't believe the FBI is going to raid my home now.
They're watching your stream.
The fact they're watching everyone's stream. They just have to tune in at the right time.
That must be a nice job. Yeah, I get to watch streams all day and just lose my mind to fucking. You got that guy who's like, yeah, I get to watch flesh streamers. You got that guy who's like, yeah, I gotta watch VTubers all day. You have no idea what my 8 hours are like.
I get to listen to several people make weird noises in Discord calls, and then basically decide when to actually intervene.
That guy must have it worse. The fucking private Discord calls must be the fucking actual worst.
It's either monkey noises or you get to listen to someone actually groom a minor.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. What's this guy's IP? He needs to be stopped. Now.
Sorry, we don't have resources at the moment. We'll deal with that later. But in the meantime, good job of following up on that tip about the grooming circles.
Fucking Christ.
I'm so glad
Yeah,
we're finding all these gems, by the way. I've just been
Money.
picking. They've just been, like, on the floor for some reason. I don't know why.
Ancient African tombs.
Ancient African jewels and tombs.
Mm-hmm.
That more gems? They keep dropping gems.
What the fuck?
This doesn't feel like a puzzle.
I don't think it is a puzzle. I think it's just find place, go get gems.
Ooh, emerald.
But we're getting checkpoints. It means we're doing the right thing. It's just what the fuck?
What do you mean it's in the roof?
There they are.
Okay, so I just shot a gem that was in the roof for some reason.
The roof?
Yeah, the roof. It was on fire.
The roof.
The roof is on fire.
On fire. That's a lot of guys.
That's a lot of dudes. Can I shoot?
Alrighty.
Yeah! This thing has
Oh,
penetration.
Jesus. Be careful, by the way.
I'm trying to be. The bees. Yeah, there's the bee headband. Yeah, there we go. Never mind, you're right. There's bees. There's bee men.
Oh, shit.
But what about the bee women? I swear to God, if you play the bee movie, I will kill you right now.
I think I can probably recite the whole B-movie script off rip. I think I like being nice to people sometimes.
I can recite the bee movie. Can I have you take a knee? No, not you. Ah! Yeah, that's a near insta-kill, by the way, that little dive. Shoot him dick, shoot him dick. I really gotta quit shooting people
Wow,
in the
that
dick.
was really cool aim. I really like what you did there, bud. Fuck off.
Wait, hold on, I have a grenade launcher.
Why didn't they drop ammo?
Ah! Ah!
Drop your ammo.
Drop your ammo. Drop the bomb, man!
Where's... Go up! Sheva, go up! Sheva, go up!
Are you sinking or something?
No!
Ooh,
She keeps
topaz.
hitting like the sides of rocks. There's so many gems.
They should have not sent Chris Redfield into Africa.
I think they're all downstairs now. Are they?
Probably. If that's the case, we're kind of at home free. I got the gem.
Where are we going right now, actually?
Are we supposed to go down to those stairs? Probably.
That was my...
Initial thought?
Yes. But there were stairs
There's a
that...
pathway through here, by the way. that has shotgun shells.
Hold
I
on.
can grab them to them later.
I think we go down and hit those steps that went up.
Okay, I found where we're supposed to go.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah, you see me? You go around all the way, like, go around the room.
Yeah.
I gotta quit saying that. Go around.
I'm definitely around the room. I'm definitely in the house.
Why are these guys just stuck?
I don't know. That's happened a few times so far. I fought a guy that was just standing there, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it
I'll take
happens. I don't understand it. Do you like standard magazines or internal, like, regular magazines? Or do you like internal magazines where you have to load them piecemeal? Or clip by clip?
The feeling of loading feels better.
True.
Makes you feel kind of badass.
There's nothing like looking around to a well-lit chamber.
Yep. Wait, now what's happening? Door?
Yeah,
there
door.
it is.
There's another switch, by the way, which I think is just for more chips.
There's so much money here.
Hey, look, another statue with more things to pull down.
Oh shit.
This is
Should we hit the other one first? Huh?
Oh, is that another purple statue? The lean statue. We gotta find the
lean statue?
Yeah, we gotta find the lean statue.
Statue de la lean. Oh, there's your chest.
Ooh, machine gun round. Black Panther. Wait, flash rounds? Oh, wait, no, this is grenade rounds. Oh, yeah, this is flashbang. Okay, so this is for me. I have explosive... Black Panther rounds. Excuse me.
Black Panther rounds?
Yeah, they're called black... excuse me.
Okay. What the fuck?
I don't know.
Is that like Porky Pig?
Okay, yeah, someone's supposed to be up there, and you're supposed... One person goes up, one person goes down. I see it.
Okay, well, do me a favor, come here for a second.
Oh yeah, I have shotgun runs.
Roger.
Yeah, let's do a little quick little trade.
A trade? A trade, you say?
Trade offer.
Can we actually just trade?
No. But I can probably, hopefully,
Can you
theoretically
equip-
hand you this.
Can you equip the thing, and then...
I can't give it to you. What the fuck was that?
Flashbang. Yeah, give it to me.
Here, you take that.
Here you go, shotgun
Give me
round.
that. Alright, now we're open. You have more than enough fucking pistol ammo. Holy shit, I need to upgrade my pistol.
Have you not upgraded your pistol?
Fuck no, I'm using a shotgun.
Oh, I've been upgrading my pistol.
My controls are pretzels, so...
My controls are pretzels.
This shit doesn't fucking work, man.
Are you saying that you use the Nintendo 64 controller?
Yeah, man, I do. Upside down, by the way.
Have you seen that, by the way?
Yeah, I have one. That's what I play Ocarina of Time on.
Oh, man. I should... Ah, shit, I need to play those old ass games. Okay, I'll get that one on the below 4. You stay right there.
Okay. They're fun. All games are fun.
All games are fun. I need to play Majora's Mask. You know what I want? I want more stuff like Majora's Mask again.
Dude, what's this? Ocarina of Time is my first Zelda game, so I don't know.
I gotta hurry up. I gotta hurry up.
Okay,
You stay right
yeah.
there. Come on! Ah! 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 Ah!
I'm not letting go.
No, you like it. Okay.
Alright, I let go.
Okay, now get back on. I was getting attacked by spiders.
You too? Wow, we're so much alike.
There's so much light. I got hugged.
Oh, I didn't. Mine just walked right by me. I think he jumped down to come kill you.
They hate me.
I think he just really didn't like you in particular.
I said I like Majora's Mask and he took it personally. No, I like Majora's Mask and took it personally.
No, you like Twilight Princess.
I also
Yes?
like Twilight Princess. I don't know. Do I have to fight over which one's better?
I wouldn't bother.
I would personally say Twilight Princess is not as dark is Majora's Mask. It's a bit interesting. I don't know, I feel like Majora's Mask could be its own game series, just set in the Zelda series. Does that make sense?
I mean, it would make sense if I played fucking Zelda games outside of Ocarina of Time. But like, when it comes down to like taste, that much I understand.
Yeah.
Like, if you want something a little darker or less cartoony, yeah, I 100% get it.
Yeah, I think Twilight Princess wants to be darker, but it'll stop in some places. It'll stop midway some places before it goes any further, but it'll imply some things. I think Majora's Mask will just go crazy. Like
It's one of those things where the people who make the game are like, oh, we have an image. And they want to protect the image more.
That's why I think Majora's Mask should be, like, set... You know, there's, like, the Tingle games and stuff?
Yeah.
The Tingle games? That's why I think you should have, like, Majora Mask, like, setting, but you just have it be its own place related to the Zelda series. That way you can do your own thing with the, like, nice, safe image of Zelda, and then you have Majora's Mask, which is the darker version. Where you can do much more, like, adult topics. With more serious context. Or serious writing. I don't know why I said context, but still.
But for those kind of things, kind of like Pokemon, where it's like, yeah, this is peddled to kids, but like, Pokemon has been fucking crazy, and there's lore about it being fucking crazy, like the war.
The war.
And like, people who are just like, oh yeah, having Pokemon is slavery and shit like that. Like, you can do some really, really interesting shit with fucking Pokemon.
I think you can go places with Pokemon, but they never really do it. And then Palmon came out and sort of stole its thunder.
Slavery.
They're just like, hey, yeah, bro, you want to have slave animals? Fuck yeah, let's go.
You can also enslave the humans, so it's not even racist.
We're not racist, we'd slave everyone. You're a slave. You're a slave. Come here, girl that rides that voltage Pokemon. You're a slave.
I'm a slave to my slaves.
I'm
Where the fuck are we going?
I'm a slave to their needs. I'm trying to find a way in. I'm a bit confused here.
Let's see, what was it? Stairs went down last time?
Is there like a pathway we could take? That's not a pathway. That's is that a door? That's not a door.
Let's see if I can figure it out.
Chat.
Sure shit ain't right here.
Is it any more of them pulled out? I think we got the purple one.
We got the purple one.
Wait.
I feel like a lower doorway opened up, but I actually don't remember because we were talking too fucking much.
We yapped.
Yapped.
We yapped. We are now the official female streamers.
They can't go places where Pokemon or Twitter will get mad. Maybe. Well, 100%. I guess so. I don't know.
I guess so, but that's kind of pathetic.
Pokemon is like
in
Call
some
of
way.
Duty.
Yeah.
Where people just want the same fucking game, but then they complain that they get the same fucking game, and they do something different. Now, I'm not talking like mechanics or them making, Scarlet and Violet run like dog shit. I'm talking about like actual like story and content. There's like they do something different, people get mad.
Yeah.
Then they don't do something different, people get mad. But they
Modern
play it anyways,
Warfare.
what the fuck?
Modern Warfare, I always feel like has like I don't understand it. It always just feels like angry, evil terrorist man wants to do bad thing like release mustard gas and frame other countries. You are big military man who must stop him.
Nothing out there.
Nothing up there. Oh god. Was this the bad? This is the bad part. Oh god. So this is blocked
Yeah,
off.
we're just lost.
A little bit. Wait, this is the red thing over here. We didn't pull this.
Oh, we just missed something? With what I was saying with Twitter yesterday.
Yeah,
Tell me what you saw on Twitter.
Come over here. Tell him what you saw on Twitter. Tell him
What you saw
now!
on Twitter, Thomas. Tell me. I'm fucking curious. Oh, we just didn't touch this, huh? That's smart. Only walked by this 16 times.
I didn't notice it because I didn't realize it.
Wait, what was happening on Twitter yesterday? I don't remember any drama.
Oh, there's a
Then
bunch.
again, I wasn't on Twitter yesterday.
You're probably the most. You spared most of that crap. Then I don't know what's going on Twitter. I just know I don't like it.
Dayu and Kenji.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, you're gonna need to explain that one to me. I don't know what happened with Sayu.
Apparently something about getting doxxed, and then
Oh no.
and then he went around and doxed her, and it's like a whole fucking thing going on. I have flashbangs. I say it. Fuck you, get flashbang. Wait, you have mines.
I do have mines. Allow me to use them.
Yes. Did I just hit you?
No. You didn't hit me, I'll tell you that.
But yeah, that's what I've read anyways. I don't want to get too far into it because it's a fucking whirlpool of drama.
Oh, it died?
Yeah, it died. I pumped a bunch of rounds into it. Ooh, a soul gem.
Oh, Jen.
Soul gem.
So, someone docked someone, which is really fucking bad by default.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Basically,
Why?
I don't fucking know. Look, I haven't been paying attention. Apparently, he got doxxed, and then for some reason, his Discord then decided to dox Sayu, and that's all I know from the knowledge. And I'm probably going to get yelled at on Twitter anyway, so you know what? Let's get fucking canceled. Let's get fucking canceled, baby. Let's get famous. Let's get famous, baby.
Kenji's fan hard doxed Sayo a year ago. Now Kenji got doxed by his friends. What? Friends?
They're not friends, but that.
Friends? That's an interesting usage of words.
Yeah, I don't think they're friends if they dox you. I don't know what's going on.
Doxed first.
Sayu is doxed first.
Why? I will never understand doxing. Like, what's the point?
I think it's just
You don't gain anything.
I think it's to try and endanger the person, and then basically be like, "Oh yeah, you know, it's a shame that private info got leaked out." It's like, what the fuck? Have you ever? I've seen one of those videos where they reveal the people who do shit like police raids on people's houses.
Oh, swatting.
Yeah,
Yes,
swatting.
Really bad.
If you ever listen to those people, they're fucking pathetic. It was they were apparently a Roblox gang, and they were.
Oh my god, Roblox, are you serious?
Yeah, they were quote unquote Roblox gangsters that would dox you if you didn't pay for the very special item that they wanted. So they would fucking swat your house and make it sound like you were a serial killer or about to going mentally unstable and about to shoot up your family.
Oh my god.
And they will blame everyone else but themselves for what happens. It's like, oh well, you know, this is just showing how bad what the police are. How bad the police are. It's like, you're fucking the problem.
No, you're the issue. What do you mean?
Just because you think you're exposing an issue does not mean you're helping it. You're abusing it and then pretending like you did nothing wrong. By the way, the person in the video got immediately jailed. I could probably send it for later viewing.
Yeah.
Also, what's this French woman doing here? Is that Italian?
I don't know. Whatever it is, she's gonna die or turn into a monster at some point.
She's got an ass. She's got a nice ass. And nice dress.
Worsker. Has Kenshi called her a map for liking? Oh.
Oh my god. This is what.
Become a god.
If you complain about Loli, I don't fucking trust you. I'm gonna say I don't trust you if you don't like Loli.
Do whatever the fuck you're doing.
If you don't like Loli, or if you don't like Loli, eat fine. But if you decide to make it your issue, I'm going to not trust you. Just stay away from me. Because I know.
I feel like if somebody likes that kind of thing, just let them rock in their fucking corner.
Exactly.
Just let them stay over there. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just let them sit over there.
Let them be. Let them live.
Just let them be and go away because it's not healthy for your mindset to just obsess over them.
Yeah.
I don't care about the pixels rights. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I don't have time. I'm not gonna be on my deathbed saying, "Wow, I wish I had fucking doxed that guy who liked fictional fucking midgets." I don't care.
Fictional midgets.
I'm gonna be thinking about like, I could have done something better with my life.
Exactly.
Man, I wish I had bought that fucking company or entered that fucking essay contest. I'm not gonna be sitting here like, man, that Twitter user, fucking Connie Consumer 96. Oh, I wish I had stopped him. No, I ain't gonna fucking be thinking about that shit. I'm like, damn. Maybe I should have fucking adopted a child and just like gave it a good life my last 10 years. I'm not fucking thinking about fucking Twitter. You got me fucked up.
You got me fucked up. You got me thinking about wrong things. I need to focus my life on something more important than this shit.
Fuck. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't have time. Your time is precious, man. I don't get it.
This is cheaper than buying grenades. What the fuck?
And then they'll go and like defend the actual fucking problems.
Yeah, we have acid rounds. Ooh, that's a
Like
war
someone will just say, "Hey, most of the people who like go really fair over that shit are actually the literal criminals."
Yeah, they're projecting usually, or they're trying to basically obscure their actions by going after someone else to essentially. It's
Like
masking, I guess is what it's called. It's masking.
Bruh, just don't. I don't understand that shit either. Just don't fucking say anything. Like, you're fucking retarded. Like, just shut the fuck up. You don't have to have an opinion on shit. You don't.
You really
You don't have to have an opinion.
Was my pistol fully upgraded? Hold on.
I'm about to go get my pistol right now, actually.
Capacity 40. No, that's not done.
Yeah.
Why is the Magnum more high damage?
We got so much money.
Money! I got so much goddamn money. We can fucking retire. We can get out of Africa. We could buy, like, a house.
We're making it out of Africa with this one.
I can believe... Okay, some people, they could probably retire, and they could probably leave, like, Africa and go for, like... With, like, 60k in your pocket, you could probably buy, like, 2 or 3 acres, build on top of that, and have like a nice like $7,000 home.
Oh, believe it or not, I would just go to Indonesia.
Yeah.
The fucking USD is abhorrently strong, in USD right now is fucking crap. It's disgustingly good at the moment. Like, just move.
The power.
Oh my god, I'm dying.
The power of the strong dollar is what I believe is the saying.
Yeah, it's just...
The consequences...
Wait, there's something over here.
Oh, is it?
Oops. Just pots. Just in case.
Just pots.
Machine gun ammo for you.
Thank you. I have 200 rounds, by the way.
But now I got someone who does comms with YouTubers saying they need proof of the Sayo docs by people posting the docs and picking up. What in the fuck? What does that mean?
Do not engage in that shit. Just fucking stay the fuck away from it.
Man, I just
want
to talk to people. I don't have time for this shit.
I didn't even realize what was going on. Shit's happening already. I just didn't want to talk about this, and now it has to be brought up.
I just straight up didn't know.
Yeah, I know. I knew about it. I just wouldn't want to talk about it because I figured, you know what, this would be really stupid to talk about on the stream. Oh god, the laser beam!
Oh, Jesus. Where's it going? Oh god, he died. That guy died.
This is the most advanced African civilization. They have fucking laser beams.
This is ridiculous.
They have laser beams.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Chat, they have laser beams.
No.
Get in here. Run. Over here. I swear to God, if I have to go on the other side just to live, I'm gonna be angry. I lived and found a gem.
Is this worth anyone's life?
No. But we're Chris and Trevor, it's fine. We're Chris and Trevor.
When Kenji said they worked it out, most likely they fucking did. Like, people think they gotta defend grown-ass adults. all the fucking time.
I know, right?
As if like VTubers aren't humans. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah, you gotta let shit handle on its own at that point. Otherwise, it's just letting people draw a hound it up. Get your shield off. But let's stop talking about this. I fucking hate this shit. Ah, fuck you.
It's just.
It's shameful.
Oh shit.
It's shameful behavior, if anything. You know? Ah! I just think it's shameful behavior.
It's just shameful behavior.
It's not something worth
It's just
talking
something
about.
you shouldn't do. Just. Be
Ah! Ah! What the fuck? Man, me.
Well, I'm gonna get hit, by the way. Or not.
Neckbreaker! Fuck you! Get your neck replaced. Oh, he's gonna do a jump. When they're about to jump, you can shoot midair, but that's like the only time. Also
Really?
here, mix this.
Oh shit!
Ooh. Chris punch! Say it like I have a super punch.
Chris punch! Sorry, you're just angry? No, it's fine. I don't mind talking about it. I mean, I don't personally mind, but if he minds, then
I
have
don't.
to.
I don't mind answering questions about it. I just, you know, I just think it's bad to talk about it in the first place. Yeah, the shotgun ammo right there.
Okay, 1 second. Hold on.
No, I just think it's bad to talk about it in the first place. But I'll talk about it.
Yeah,
I will not get mad at my chat for that, or anyone else's chat for that. It's fine.
I just want people to be fucking adults and just like VTuber drama, depending on what's happening.
Is that gold? Is that water? It's on fire.
What the heck are you looking at?
Look, are you not looking at this totem that we got the Earth medallion from?
What the heck did you? What? Are we looking at the same thing? On fire.
Yeah, it's on fire.
Oh, yeah, it's on fire.
I don't know if it's lava.
No, it's on. It's fire.
Well,
Oh, so yeah, people need to stop being retarded. Oh, Jesus Christ! I almost forgot that was a thing.
oh my god, how do they control this? This is advanced laser technology. Advanced sun technology. Like, this is economic war crimes. Ecological war crimes.
Ecological war crimes.
Well, think about it. It's coming from the diamond, which is using the sun and amplifying that.
What do you do when the sun's not up?
Yeah, it's off. So my question is how. They harness the power of the sun that makes lasers explode people. Man, fuck the current laser technology. This is. Ah!
How did we get hit? We waited.
On. Yeah, just stay on there. Oh, there's a gem above you.
Above me? Wow.
Yeah, look at that. It
Jesus.
fucking eviscerates them. No, wait, come back here. Stay here. Oh, you have a. Never mind. Oh my god. Do we even do anything? Okay, it's back and forth. That's how it hit us. Chat, I'm sorry. I'm a little paranoid.
I'm based as fuck. I'm not. True retard energy.
True Chad, retard energy? No way.
The key is to have not enough intelligence to have fear.
That dumb luck energy. Listen, if someone tells you you have dumb luck energy, don't take it as an insult. It's a compliment. It just means you're too stupid to die, and you're too strong. They can't fuck with you.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Ohayou.
Oh yeah, they can stay around for a little while. I am helping.
Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are.
I am helping. I am good at killing. I don't know about creating stuff. Oh god.
Are you stuck over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot of green herb you got over there.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird. It's weird the herbs have not been spawning for us. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, is he coming for me?
I guess he is.
Yeah, you get that herb medallion. I'll handle him. Thanks, game. I like looking at a medallion instead of the thing I need to kill. Back and forth. Fuck him up! I hate Maker! This poor man gets bullied by...
He got fucked.
Yeah, you think you're tough shit? Guess what? You're alone. Holy shit. That fucking jump scared me.
Hold on, wait.
Reset.
Where do we even put these? I don't know yet.
I don't know yet either. I think they're downstairs, by the way.
It's okay, you're fine. Just gotta move to the right.
This laser technology. It's intense, bro. Ah!
What happened to you?
It spawned on top of me is what happened. I hate to admit it, but it spawned on top of me.
On top of you. Just don't get hit, okay?
Just don't get hit. Play Mega Racing, don't get hit.
Okay, never mind. Just don't get hit.
That's one head. That's two heads. That's a couple of other bugs. Hold on. Can I fucking aim? I know I'm missing like one shot and getting a hit, but still, it feels shameful.
Thanks, man.
I am the best backup sniper.
I have so many shotgun shells right now.
The sea emblem. Oh. Earth, air, sea. Is it gonna be fire or is it just gonna be the three?
Wait, hold on, hold on. Can I give you this? Hold on. Did you come close to me?
Yeah, what you need? Okay, you want me to heal?
I would like for you to heal.
Heal.
I need you alive.
God damn. Sorry, I healed a little too quickly. Get the shotgun ammo.
Okay, so now where do we go?
Oh, come on. Take your fucking knee. Ooh. Ooh. Why won't you accept my love?
Would you accept my love?
I do this because I love you, damn it. Ooh. He'll die.
Oh, like actually, can you die?
No, he'll die. It just takes a long time. Oh yeah. See,
You're Jen.
see. You just
You're fucking
need.
Jen,
You just need
asshole.
all of our love.
Just need to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. Mother and father love.
Wait, hold on. Thomas, who is Rev? I need help with these names.
I think Rev Desert is a drama tuber. That's what I remember. Not like he like does like he reviews drama. I know that. It's like I know names, but I don't watch enough of them. I hate that.
My opinion is that there's no point in VTuber news at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unless you're like I believe that people who follow
Come on!
Okay. People who follow
I have to
VTube
wait.
news. Anyways,
I believe that people who follow like VTubers
yeah.
don't need VTuber news because they already follow who they want to follow. So there's no real point in existing unless you're looking for drama, or maybe you're studying content creation and you're just trying to. We're dead.
Yeah.
I'm not dead. I'm nice as fuck.
Over here.
Or
Over here.
maybe
Over here.
you're
Over here.
okay.
Sorry.
Or maybe you're just looking for.
People can
I don't
look
know.
for
Maybe
drama.
you're studying something.
That's true.
Like I don't know. Like what did this VTuber do wrong, etc., etc., blah blah blah. Maybe you're trying to take VTubing seriously.
You're trying to
Yeah, you
actually
get-
succeed and basically see
Yeah.
what they did wrong. So,
Wrong, quote unquote.
yeah.
Essentially, just like maybe you're looking for information. You cut
That's-
out both sides. Right. There's a use for everything,
Yeah.
but in terms of like VTuber general news, I don't see the point of it. Why the fuck would I care about what a VTuber is doing that I don't fucking care about?
Can you?
I don't care.
I feel like the VTuber drama news ends up doxing a lot. People ends up doxing people, anyways. Despite just trying to be like, oh, this person did something bad. It's like, okay. And now you spread the information that this person's information's out there, which also exposes them. This is not a chest.
It is 8:25. I said 2.5 hours I can do.
Do you need to head out?
Yeah, I have work tomorrow.
Okay.
Early work, unfortunately. Wait, what's this next one? What's this next room?
I think it's a boss fight. Oh wait, it's a puzzle room.
You have a spider. Oh wait, it's not doing anything. It's a baby.
It's a little baby. It's cute. Look at him. It's a little fuzzy tarantula. Yeah, did you know that tarantulas aren't really that aggressive? I don't know about the venom. I don't remember venom. I'm like surrounded by snakes. I'm not really surrounded by spiders. I do have banana spiders in my area.
I don't know about spiders.
Me
I'm not
neither.
surrounded by spiders. There's not even spiders in my house.
Okay.
But like I do have snakes, foxes, deer, frogs, turtles.
That is
What the
deadly.
fuck?
This is a
What kind
mirror.
of puzzle is it? Oh!
Yeah, this is an insta kill, by the way. You want to stop here, or you want to get this puzzle?
Why did you kill me?
I don't know. I fucked up.
I didn't do anything wrong.
I think.
Spare spiders. I don't want your spiders.
Spider. Crunch, 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 munch, munch.
Okay,
Munch.
I'm gonna call it here because I'm trying to be a responsible adult.
Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you, Doggywara, for participating with me for participating with me for Resident Evil 5. This is Doggywara.
Thank you for fucking setting me on fire, you fucking piece of shit.
Thanks for the stream. You're welcome, Thomas Comfort.
I appreciate it.
Ugo Kokage.
You made it to your home country? Shut the fuck up.
You made it to his home country.
We made it back home, boys.
We made
Let's go, Puerto Rico.
We get to the point with the African ruins. You made it back home, says shit.
Finally, I'm back where I was born.
Oh my god, this is
the fucking Africa.
holy shit. By the way, Doggy, I have to inform you, we are now officially on the Kage curse. This is going to take 3 streams to finish.
What do you mean it's gonna take 2 streams? 2 streams from here, or like 3 entire streams?
3 entire streams.
Okay,
I
that's workable.
It's a weird curse where I end up beating games in 3 streams. I don't know why. It just
One day I'll
happened.
just do a full ride. One day I'll have like 3 days off, and I'm just gonna beat this game. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be sitting here for 12 fucking hours.
I don't think it's gonna take 12 fucking hours. We can
I
do
don't
one.
know,
We
not
can
this
do
game.
one more. I liked it.
I know we should beat this next stream once I don't have work. If I have the next day off, we can sit here for like fucking 7 hours. I don't care.
Oh,
I
fuck
don't know
it.
what your endurance is.
I don't really give a shit. I can, if it's like something I can last until sunrise. I did that once, by the way. When I was younger, I think they sent one of the neighbors to babysit me, And I ended up playing Lego Star Wars until like morning, and I fell asleep. And when he came over to check up on me, I was dead asleep, so I couldn't let him in.
Damn,
He's
being
like,
a child.
we can fix the curse stream. No, man, Sky, this
Being a
asshole.
child is different.
This man just suggested I stream No Man's Sky.
Well, I hope you enjoy that 12-hour stream.
That's not 12 hours. That's a man. I love mining rocks and shooting thing and then talking the thing and then wondering what I'm doing.
That's
I
like
heard-
fucking Minecraft.
I heard it got better, but I haven't seen what
Oh, I've
exactly.
heard it got way better, but I have never played it, so I couldn't tell what better is.
Anyways, Doggy has to go. Make Doggy play with you, says Thomas Gumfer.
No Man's Sky.
Make Doggy play No Man's Sky with me.
Is
Okay.
that game even multiplayer?
It's now multiplayer. It was single player, and they fucked up when they initially released it, but now they finally added multiplayer.
Were my fucking controls working?
Doggy dog piling a ship. His controls switch on him mid fight. What the fuck? Ah!
Yeah, that's me screaming "What the fuck" at everything that wrong that happens in my life.
Crashes
I'm always
crashes
screaming,
into an asteroid. Still fine. Anyways,
Okay.
Doggy has to go. I'm gonna
I
let
must-
him.
I must go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's give Doggy a proper send up. Thank you, Doggy, for the stream.
Thank you, Ugoku. I appreciate the fun.
This was
Playing
amazing.
Resident Evil was really fun. I love this fucking game. I wish my controls weren't in reverse.
Don't worry about it. It honestly makes the game more fun. I think if we had better controls, this would probably listen.
Oh, we would have won already.
Yeah, there would have been a lot more dead things. This would have been like the Fear 3 stream, or it would have been one stream.
We this would have been done. It would have been 2 at max, but I can't aim, so you gotta do other work.
All right. Anyways, you need to head out.
I'm heading out.
Please have a fantastic day. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye. Peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.
That was Doggywara. Wait till you get Chris's super weapon. Oh god. Anyways, I'm gonna put these guns away and I'm gonna actually play some music again. Because we had some background music. Thank you, chat, for participating with me. Thank you, Thomas Gunfer and Team for coming along on board. And thank you everyone else for watching, including those on Doggy Chat. I stream every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays. They are different games every time. I'll be excited for Chris's weapon. Thank you, Thomas. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's just his fist or if that's just the pistol. I should actually head out now. Anyways. I will head out as well. Again, thank you all for watching. Please check out Doggywara. Have a good night. Goodbye. I'm gonna watch someone else now. Play different video games. I'm gonna actually see who I can raid. Oh, I can raid Twitchy. I'm gonna raid Twitchy. Anyways, goodbye. Please say hi to Twitchy for me.